Wait, shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
Shut for 1 second. Shut for 1 second.
Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
What did
You're
you
just
just
coming
say?
off stupid.
Yes, I am. What's up, everyone? How are we doing? Who's ready to get into the nitty-gritty? There's been a lot of stuff happened since we did this shit. I think about a month ago. So, I mean, it's almost to the point that where do I start? Obviously, two really sad things happened this week. Hulk Hogan died and Ozzy died. Theo from Cosby Show also died of 3 losses that I think shaped a lot of people's lives. Ozzy, Black Sabbath was an incredible band, is an incredible band. Hulk was an incredible wrestler. I've never been a huge wrestling guy, but to just be aware of what he did for that community is, and then of course Theo. I always thought Theo was one of the coolest kids on television. Lily finally made it to a live. I'm pretty sure you've been on a live show before. I'm pretty sure I've seen you in the chat. Risk It for the Biscuit says, well, actually, it's been 3 weeks. Touche. And I'll tell y'all what, it is hot in my apartment right now. It is 81 degrees in here, and I'm wearing a button down and a freaking black robe. This may have been a mistake. Oh, okay. There's a couple things. There's definitely a few things I want to go through. And then there's a couple things that I need to look up while we go through this. Okay, so the first thing. No, brisket. My AC's not busted. The system, the unit is old, and they for whatever reason it just doesn't keep up with the heat. Now it is really hot this week. These next 5 days, I'm just going to be suffering in pain. But I'm hoping I'm hoping we're hitting that peak that the weather is going to start mellowing out in about 2 to 3 weeks. So I've only got one more month, I think, of terrible electrical bills, and then it'll get better. So the first thing that I'm going to look up is Barbara v. Trump and see where we are in that case. So Barbara v. Trump is the class action lawsuit that the New Hampshire that the federal judge in New Hampshire certified the class action for, getting around the Supreme Court's order against nationwide injunctions. And I have been off and on throughout the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually, checking websites and stuff over and over and over to see where we are in it. And it keeps stopping with the bond being posted, and I can't figure out where we are. So that was the case where they basically said, "What's up, lean back? How you doing, man?" Where they said that you've got we're placing an injunction on you being able to remove people who were born here who you're saying are not citizens. Hang on. Nope. And So Casa v. Trump, Washington v. Trump, and Massachusetts v. Trump, I believe, all went up to the Supreme Court, and they got bundled together in a hearing, and that's where the rule for no more nationwide injunctions came out. And so what the judge did in New Hampshire was he certified basically anyone that could ever be an illegal, or basically anyone that would be born of illegal parents, into a class. And now the problem is Roe v. Wade makes it very clear that under U.S. law, unborn kids are not people. And that section of Roe v. Wade wasn't touched by the case last year that ended the right to abortion. So how that guy came up with that, I have no idea. And I genuinely don't want to read his decision because it's quite long, and I think we all have better things to do. But what I'm trying to find out, so he decided this on a Thursday, and he stayed it for a week. He said, I'll let the Trump administration appeal. And I can't find the appeal. It should be in the First Circuit Court of Appeals, and it should be something like the 14th, 15th, or 16th of July. And I can't find it. Everything is either July 10th or backwards. Oh, here we go. Well, this. This is for the Ninth Circuit. Appeal from the United States District Court. Let's share this. Nope, that was the wrong button. Riskin says, I saw a Live card today loaded with bumper stickers. One said, no one is illegal on stolen land. And you guess how she looked, and you're probably correct. Did she look like this? Now I'm going to share this tab instead so that you don't get blinded. These judges just do whatever they want, law be damned. Well, so that's the thing that's annoying legally is, like, there in many cases, the only time that any judge has just like flat out just lied or been just completely off base was what was it? Okay, so there was during like the first round of deportations, they were getting agreements to deport to third parties. So if you were a Mexican illegal, they could just send you to El Salvador. If El Salvador said, we'll take them. A federal judge stopped that. And stopped it using a nationwide injunction. And then the Supreme Court said no nationwide injunction. And then he issued an opinion saying, the judge issued an opinion saying, by the way, federal government, their decision does not interfere with my injunction. And so Trump and the administration had to go back to the Supreme Court and say, can you tell this idiot that, yes, it absolutely does? And they did. All right, so this is an appeal from the United States District Court for the Western District of Washington. It was submitted on June 4th. So wait, so this is old. This is protecting the meaning and value of America. This is that executive order. And this is the Court of Appeals. The only problem with This is being zoomed in. This takes forever to. Article 2 of the Constitution establishes the scope of presidential powers. The president has the power to issue executive orders if they stem from either an act of Congress or from the Constitution itself. All matters that fall within that scope established by Article 2. But one power that the president was not granted by Article 2 or by any other source is the power to modify or change any clause of the United States Constitution. Perhaps the executive branch, recognizing that it could not change the Constitution, phrased its executive order in terms of a strained and novel interpretation of the Constitution. The district court correctly concluded that the executive orders proposed interpretation denying citizenship to many persons born in the United States is unconstitutional. We fully agree. The defendant's proposed interpretation of the citizenship clause relies on a network of inferences that are unmoored from the accepted legal principles of 1868. This runs the risk of extrapolating from the Constitution's text and history the value behind that right and then enforcing its guarantees only to the extent that serve in the court's views. We reject this approach because it is contrary to the express language of the citizenship clause, the reasoning of Wong Kim Ark. That's that big case. Executive branch practice for the past 125 years, the legislative history, the extent that they should be considered because it is contrary to justice. So they affirmed, what did they affirm? They affirmed the lower court's rejection of, or what did they appeal? Let me see what they appealed. Risk it. It's a video we're gonna go over later. What's up, Elaine? How you doing? Which one is this? So this is Washington, Arizona, Illinois, Oregon, Delmy Franco. By 23rd. Hang on. So this isn't Barbara v. Trump, which is the case that I'm more interested in because that's the one that's going to kind of decide the ability to confirm citizenship on unborn children. So this is Circuit Judge Bumate concurring and dissenting in part on page 49, and he is one, two, three. So this is a 3-judge panel. So Trump's lost this. The administration lost this appeal. The administration can now choose to appeal that to a full bench of judges, which would be, I think it's 11. And then once you get from that, you appeal to the Supreme Court. No matter how significant the question or how high the stakes of the case, at all times we must adhere to the confines of the judicial power. Among the most profound innovations of our Constitution is our system of separate powers, one that grants each branch of our government only limited authority. See, and this is why we're having a basic civics lesson today. The founding generation understood that division was necessary to preserve liberty and prevent tyranny. With their personal experience in the hands of the British government, with its Star Chamber, arbitrary pronouncements, and other abuses, they knew that concentrating too much authority in only a few hands corrupts and threatens our freedoms. As a result, they established strict constitutional guardrails, yada yada. They cite Trump v. Casa. All too often, district courts have issued universal injunctions mandating relief to both injured plaintiffs and non-parties alike as a matter of course. But simply put, universal injunctions, quote, lack a historical pedigree and fall outside the bounds of a federal court's equitable authority under the Judiciary Act. And that he's citing Trump v. Casa at page 2554. Instead, runaway universal injunctions conflict with the judicial role, encouraging federal courts to act more like a legislature by decreeing the right and duties of people nationwide. So the Supreme Court has put an end to that practice. I agree. To adhere to the separation of powers, then, federal courts must not grant an injunction broader than necessary to provide complete relief to each plaintiff withstanding the suit. No longer can a single district court judge casually enjoin the actions of the political branches everywhere against everyone all at once. Now, plaintiffs must establish that a sweeping injunction is truly necessary for complete relief, and that inquiry must be searching, requiring the closest scrutiny to the plaintiff's claimed injury. The broader and deeper the remedy the plaintiffs want, the stronger the plaintiff's story needs to be. Let's see. Here we go. Thus, we should approach any request for universal relief with good faith skepticism, mindful that the invocation of complete relief isn't a backdoor to universal injunctions. So what he's saying here, what this judge is saying, is that when someone shows up saying, hey, we need a universal injunction, like what judges were handing out, we need to be really skeptical and say that, there's no way that you're going to be able to get complete relief with a universal injunction. It's just, we're not going to allow you to come in and say the only way I can have complete relief is with a universal injunction, because that's like the code language. So, for example, if you were taking a multiple choice exam in law school, and the question was, I don't know, this is a little simple, but something like what's one of the requirements for, or no. A federal judge issued a universal injunction. What could that mean? And you'd have four answers. The correct answer would say something involving complete relief. So that's the code words here. Otherwise, CASA would be a mere drafting exercise rather than a binding precedent. And finally, it's worth remembering that complete relief function not as a floor but as a ceiling. It's not a guarantee, but the maximum court can provide. Equity sometimes demands that courts grant less than complete relief. Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to see where he disagrees with the courts or with this court. What's up, Wicked Raiders? Greg, Hokies, how y'all doing? We are going through a Court of Appeals decision that appears to have struck down Trump's ban on birthright citizenship. So, let's see. Otherwise, yep. Mm-hmm. We are. I'm Cranberry Langers. Yep. What's up, Wicked? How are you doing? Hi. Okay. So where we are, so this Court of Appeals panel in I didn't even see where it was. Ninth Circuit in, where are we sitting right now? Western District of Washington. So they ruled that Donald Trump's executive order is unconstitutional. That he doesn't have the right to change the Constitution, which I was pretty sure where they were going to go with. What I'm wanting out of the Supreme Court when this gets appealed is I'm wanting the Supreme Court to define. Hang on, I'll tell you what I want them to define. Birthright citizenship case. 1898, I think, is when Wong was. Yes, Wong Kim Ark. So this was the case that really kind of creates the question on what birthright citizenship is. And what I'm hoping that the Supreme Court finally decides is what is the answer to subject to the jurisdiction of. Because if it's anyone that is currently physically in the country, then that's what we end up getting what we have right now. But if it becomes anyone that is legally in the country, then, in my opinion, that fixes a lot of problems. And it keeps Wong Kim good law. So the question in Wong Kim was whether or not, because his parents is a child who was born in the United States to Chinese citizen parents who are lawful permanent residents of the United States, a U.S. citizen under the Citizenship Clause of the 14th Amendment. And that's the part that annoys me so much. And I think that's the part that annoys everyone, is his parents were lawful residents of this country. So many other of the anchor baby parents are not lawful residents. And I think that's where the court needs to step in and say, you know what? Here's the deal. Here's the definition. And I was hoping that we would have gotten there already, but the Supreme Court is in not recess, but they're on a break. It's kind of like Ross and Rachel. Does that make sense, guys? Oh, let's see. That's really good. DC is always on a break. I really should just go to like basically his last sentence. So this judge believes that the states that are suing do not have standing to sue. That suing to protect your citizen or the people living in your state is out of bounds for your standing. Because we don't have. So okay. He agreed in part. What did he agree on? Control F. Maybe I'm forgetting the word. Concur, not confer. What's up, Breezy? Oh, Mark. Okay, let's have it. Let's have it, buddy. I want to hear this. Did I see where the Dems said the quiet part out loud? She needs the illegals so she get more House seats. I don't think I saw that, but I mean, that's exactly it. Like, I mean, how many studies have to come out to show that if illegals stopped voting in our elections, California and New York and other states like that would lose like 35 House seats? The Ninth Circuit is too big. Congress should split California, Oregon, and Hawaii, thus creating 2 new appellate courts instead, where DJT can appoint all new judges. Is that it? But I was hoping for like a little more, man. Yeah, I mean that. Let's see. So would you split? Yeah, so you would split the coast off from the rest of it. Well, so what I would do. So these are the circuit courts. I would make it Hawaii, Guam, Northern Mariana Islands, Alaska, California, Oregon, and Washington. And then Montana, Idaho, Nevada, and Arizona would have its own circuit. And that would sit in either Phoenix or in not Las Vegas, Carson City, Nevada. That's what I would do. Or you do Nevada, California, Arizona, Hawaii, Guam, and the North. Hawaii and Guam, and then you do Washington, Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and the northern Alaska, and the Northern Mariana Islands. That's how I would split it up. I think that makes more sense. You get all of this geography together, and then all of this geography together. Keep Washington, Alaska with the interior. Washington doesn't have income tax? Are you serious? That's why people fucking live there. I have been wondering for like 20 years why people actually fucking live in Washington. It's because they don't have income tax. My mind is blown. I had no idea. Yeah. I don't know what that volcano, green lava, orange. I wish it would actually show me what the thing looked like. Yeah, I would love to get rid of a lot of shit in South Carolina. It's disappointing because we don't even talk about it. Like, what's his name? DeSantis down in Florida is constantly talking about getting rid of property tax. And, that's been like a great campaign ad and all this stuff. But we don't even have anyone campaigning for that down here. Cranberry. Good weather. I mean, maybe I guess Seattle is just constantly has rain and maybe everywhere else doesn't have rain, but isn't the joke of Washington State that it's just always raining? Gotcha. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Margarita. I'm totally down. And honestly, that's probably what we should do. Like, if you're going to own multiple homes, you need to pay property tax on those homes. Okay. Like, I do not think that you are going to be able to get rid of all of these taxes all over the place and fund everything with tariffs or remittance taxes. So you've got to find a way to do it. Well, one way to do it, and it's one of the things that South Carolina does is we tax boats at a stupid rate. And the idea is if you own a boat, you probably have the money to pay the tax because boats are expensive and they're harder to buy. They're more expensive than a car is, depending on the boat. So that's the theory behind that, is my understanding, based off of a single conversation. So, but if you own multiple homes, you probably have, like, you could sit there and argue, I own 2 cars. I mean, a car, depending on the car, it's 20,000. It's not that. It doesn't show that like that large of a wealth or whatever. You own 2 homes, and we're talking about we're talking about the 1%. And now I sound like a fucking Democrat. Okay, real quick, guys. I have to check to see if I thought I heard someone banging down my door. Okay. You were supposed to be busy. Hang on a second, guys. X-Wing is live playing some Donkey Kong game. So I'm trying to crap on him. Do a bit. All right, back to the important shit. Okay. So we're just going to dive into this. Okay. Let's start with what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with Epstein, or do we want to start with Obama and what's his name and Gabbard and all that shit? Obama. Okay. So we currently stand, Obama. That's funny. We currently stand on what I think is the precipice of a constitutional crisis. This country has executed like 4 people for treason. Most of the people that we had, and I take that back. This country has, to my knowledge, and if anyone wants to refute that, put it in the chat, has never executed somebody for treason. They have executed them for espionage, like the Rosenthals. Well, that was their name, right? The two spies in the 50s. Rosenberg, Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. So the question becomes, let's say everything Tulsi is saying is completely true. Okay. So did Barack Obama commit treason? There's the question. So treason in U.S. Code. Here is the definition of treason. Whoever, owing allegiance to the United States, levies war against them or adheres to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere, is guilty of treason and shall suffer death, or shall be imprisoned not less than 5 years. So the question becomes, did Barack Obama at all levy war against the United States? No, they didn't. Do we agree with what they did? No. Do we like what they did? No. Do they need to be punished for what they did? Yes. Did they levy war? No, they did not. Did they help our enemies? That's the question. So that is this. Actually, even then, I would argue that. Nah, I'm good with that. Giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere. Okay, well, you can define aid and comfort in a bunch of different ways. So I think you could argue that they definitely aided or comforted our enemies elsewhere. So they don't have to be in the United States. They can be the Chinese government, the Iranian government, the Russian government, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So this is a good argument to make. Anyone that sits there and wants to be like they committed treason because they spied on on a guy running for office, that's not treason. It's just not treason. Nothing until Donald Trump is sworn in as president do I think that you could get away with in court arguing as treason. So the question then becomes, how much of the stuff occurred after Donald Trump was sworn into office? Well, you've got the entirety of the Russian hoax and anything that, but then you also I was a little more prepared. I had a conversation about all of this last night, and I was much more articulate about it last night. If you've got a list, let's say we have a list right here, a list that you can't see, it's invisible. You got a list right here of 1,000 names, okay? And all 1,000 names are every single news person, every single agent, every single politician, everyone that ever said the words Russian collusion. Okay, 1,000 people. Well, they all owe allegiance to the United States, and they all would have adhered to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort within the United States or elsewhere. So they could be guilty of treason. Well, now you have to define intent, because in order to commit a crime, you have to have an intent to commit that crime. For the most part, Mark, for the most part, okay? Sometimes you can commit a crime without having the intent to commit that crime. But in this case, I'm pretty sure you would need to form the intent. So you need to kick off probably on that list. You need to remove probably every single news person, because even if they had reason to know or thought, hang on a second. They read the thing. They go, but this doesn't really make sense because of this. Well, whatever. First off, they still have First Amendment protections. Second off, they were not in the room. There's no fucking way that they were in the room when all this stuff was being decided. There's no way that Barack Obama or John Brennan let Ted Turner in the room. Just no fucking way. So I think you gotta let the journalists off. Maybe a couple people get fined, but beyond that, everyone's off. So now look at the politicians. Okay, well, we kind of know the way that the political system works is dirty and gross and disgusting, and there's a lot of half truths. And I believe this, and I'm gonna say this just because it's the popular thing for my party. So anyone that did that, you have to let off, because it wasn't, they didn't have the intent, knowing that it was false evidence. They didn't have the intent to commit the crime. And guys, I will get back to the chat in just a bit. Don't worry. Then, and by now, that I think that list of 1,000 has gone down to about 100. Okay, so now you have to look at basically decision makers. You have to maybe look at the majority whip. Maybe you look at the Senate leader, President Pro Tem of the Senate, the what you call it of what do you call it? The Speaker of the House. Okay, Nancy Pelosi. Good chance that they are knowing members of the conspiracy. Again, I don't think you can charge them with treason. I think you can charge them with conspiracy to commit espionage. The thing that I want, I'll tell you what I want. I want to see, and I have not read all the stuff that Tulsi has released. If anyone has, let me know. Is Mark Miller in that? That's his name, is it? Mark Miley. Is he in this like collusion thing? Because that's how you get people for treason. Because he openly admitted to treason. And the fact that he's not in Leavenworth right now is my biggest annoyance with Hesketh. I think he should have been tried for treason in a military court. Okay, let's see what the chat was saying. In the legal sense of it, I believe it never being done. We cheated but still lost, so what does it matter now is what I imagine their excuse to be. Yeah, so I think their biggest argument against, so let's say everything happens that we want to happen. People end up on trial, okay? I think their biggest argument is going to be we didn't actually aid any country. They're gonna show that the conspiracy was all Americans. The conspiracy was only forced to do stuff for America. And they're gonna. I think they'll probably try to show that it ended at a certain point, but other people kept going. And I think that would be the way to get off on any sort of like treason charges. Funding terrorism through secret pallets of cash to Iran. So again, we have to prove who knew. We have to prove who. I think if you prove that John Brennan knew that the money was going to aid terrorists, absolutely charge the guy. I want him in jail. I don't think you're going to be able to draw that connection all the way to the president. Even though the president should know everything that his intelligence agencies are doing, the CIA is too much of a shadow organization at this point. Leanback said, I'm 7 minutes behind on stream. Washington now does have an income tax in the form of capital gains tax on rich folk. It's against our state constitution, but judges here are wackos. Fun. You should sue. If they're generating false evidence with intent to prohibit what? What about instructing the agencies to make up lies to hurt the incoming president? So again, it's the thing that's disgusting is it's politics. When Fox News peddles something that makes Obama look bad, are they committing treason? Are they attacking the United States? When MSNBC published all the stuff about Bush not serving, did they commit treason? No, they followed a story that they were given. Now, in that case, they didn't do nearly a good job of investigating as they should have. I've long said that the best example of investigative journalism is the Spotlight team at the Boston Globe, or I think I think Boston Globe's defunct now. I think it's owned by someone else. Mark Reality comes back with the quote or the oath that the president of the United States takes. All enemies, both foreign and domestic enemies using this to undercut an election is a danger to our democracy and the Constitution. The charges will be as the grand jury decides. Yeah, well, and so I think what you end up seeing is some sort of conspiracy to commit. And whatever now commit what? That's going to be the question. You could argue a conspiracy to commit treason. But I think you're going to have a harder time proving that against people like Obama and John Brennan and stuff like that. We don't want to put the former president of the United States, whether we like him or not, on trial for treason. There's no precedent for that. So I think you see him more on trial for, as fucking pathetic as it is, perjury and shit like that. I think you see, if Obama ever ends up in the docket, I think you see it's going to be some minor case. I don't think it's some huge thing. And Laura and Lee, I think you hit the nail on the head right there. I will be shocked if any charges are even brought before a grand jury. Yeah. So what I think you do is if they want to go get Obama, if they have proof that it is Obama that is driving this, and it looks like they do, then you got to start offering pardons. Deals need to start being made today. Because if they're not made, these people are going to lawyer up which actually might be a good thing, because that means all the top firms are going to be busy doing something else instead of attacking the administration for anything they pass. So risk it. Y'all are going to disagree with me, and you're all going to leave. I am not opposed to everything Bondi has done. I am greatly upset and annoyed at the way that she handled the Epstein shit. I've said on here that what she should have done, because then I went through. I'm pretty sure I did this on the last Legally Speaking. But remember, what happened was she went on Fox News on a Wednesday. I was born on Monday. She went on Fox News on a Wednesday and said, I have the documents on my desk. They're coming out tomorrow. And Thursday, Wednesday at she said that, let's say 7:30. Okay. At 8 p.m., she was informed by someone inside the FBI that there were a bunch of documents being hidden in the New York field office. Thursday afternoon was the cabinet meeting. I think it was the first cabinet meeting. So this would have been February, maybe March. She handed Kash Patel, director of the FBI, a letter saying, basically, I have been informed that the guy in charge of the New York field office is hiding documents. You are hereby ordered by the authority of the Attorney General of the United States to hand over every single document in the possession of the FBI. You are hereby ordered to reply to this within 24 hours. The next day, by noon, Kash Patel had gone to the New York field office, taken every single file and handed it to Pam Bondi. And the big oopsie on Kash Patel was he allowed the guy to resign. He should have fired that guy's ass. He should have been, because see, this is the problem, okay? These people have come into, these changers have come into politics, and suddenly they don't want tar and feather. They want justice. But the problem is, what they do is they want to be noble. And so instead of attacking the guy, they've allowed him to resign in honor. And it's like, bullshit. I want him in fucking cuffs. He fucking hid evidence. So that's the annoying thing, okay? The Epstein stuff is going to tarnish everything that this administration does, whether it's Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, or Donald Trump. But what you cannot forget is the good stuff as well, okay? Pam Bondi's DOJ has removed so much bullshit that courts have been doing for the last 40 years. The fact that DOJ was able to get rid of nationwide injunctions, that's huge. Like, you can't just throw that away and be like, they haven't done anything. Yes, they have. They've done a lot. Look at all the wins that Donald Trump has gotten in the Supreme Court. How much time and effort has that taken, that Department of Justice to do? It's not just three guys in a room sitting there putting their hands together to come up with all the briefs. That's like floors in the Department of Justice working on that shit. So I think we compartmentalize and kind of forget that, and not the bullshit that a Democrat would say, we forget that they're people too. No, fuck that. But we forget that their only job is not to look at this one thing. Okay, their job is to do these 9,000 things. And just like all of us have a job, and unless our job is to sit there in a factory and push the button, we all have a lot of things we have to do throughout the day. We all have to manage our time. And some of these attorneys are just sitting there. They might work on this Epstein thing for an hour on Thursday because they have a hearing on Friday that is, for, in all honesty, a more important thing. Because while what I think we can say was now, because since he's dead and the ring, I would assume, is probably a little broken. Terrible crime, terrible. Everyone involved should be buried on the ground. I don't care if you only watched. I don't care if you participated in it. You should be under the ground. But nothing that John, who is the senior whatever in the Department of Justice, is going to do tomorrow is going to heal those victims. Okay, I'm going to get off my soapbox there. Risk it. I'm going to assume that this was in agreement to the first little bit I was saying. Lily says she should have shut her mouth and waited to see what she actually has. She heard Trump with this 100%. 100%. Mark Reality says Pam Bondi needs to learn to regulate her comments so she stops pissing off people. However, I do believe she's done a good job so far. That's the thing. And Risk It nails it on the head here. She needs to get off the TV and stick to her desk and file cabinets. 100%. She has sat there on television too much. Like, it was kind of cool, you know. So let's say she's going on Fox 30 times, okay? It was good the first 5 times because it felt like we were getting transparency. It felt like we had senior members of the administration going on television and telling us what they were doing. Then she did a 6th time, and a 7th time, and an 8th time. And it's like, okay, you're going on TV a lot. Why is it you? Like every time it's you. So that I think that's the biggest problem, or has been the biggest problem with her. I think we know too much about her now. Yes, Corn Boy. Holy shit. That is a deep take. It's Jeff Sessions all over again. Absolutely. Yep. So, yeah. So, and again, look, Bondi's DOJ has done a great job. Trump was right. I think Trump was completely right to defend her. I also think, and another good example of a dumb thing to say on television was what Dan Bongino said, like yesterday, I think, when he went on Fox and Friends. It was basically like, look, it's a really hard job. I moved my family. I left my job. It's like, you fucking can't pay for the job, dude. Like, you could have said no. I mean, come on. I mean, I'm not going to feel sorry that you get to the office at 7:30 in the morning and leave at 6 p.m. I'm not going to feel sorry about that. But you knew what the job was. You absolutely knew what it was. Like, I appreciate it, and I understand that it's a hard job. And if you know what, if you need to take a day off, because I mean, I think he's been doing this, I would assume probably nonstop for the last 3 months. I think he's been the deputy director for like 4 months now. If you need a day off, okay, fine, you can go have a day off. Okay, we all want a day off. I get it, but to kind of go on Fox and Friends and boo-hoo, a little bit of a bad look. Okay, bad look. But look, I mean, I think they're doing a good job overall. I think they've really and whoever keeps telling Trump that, oh yeah, definitely call it overreaction and a waste of time. Good idea. Bad idea. No, Lily, he was back in the office. He took like 3 hours off on Friday. He left like 3 hours early on Friday. He was back in the office on Monday. Yeah. So I got nothing against Dan. I think he's doing for the most part a decent job. I think Cash is doing a decent job. The other thing we forget is how many times have we seen the tweet? The FBI would like to announce that we've just recovered 45 children that were being trafficked in this thing, and it's like, oh, well, that's a lot of kids. Like, we've seen that tweet 10 times. So again, the FBI is not only doing Epstein stuff. Like, there's other stuff they're doing, and for the most part, they seem to be doing a pretty good job. We kind of went over both the treason and the what do you call it? The treason and the Epstein stuff at the same time. Yeah, Hokies, absolutely. The kids that Biden lost. There is one quick thing. I think this is going to have to kind of be the last. Okay, this was really funny. Look at this. Yes, absolutely risk it. Absolutely. And look, and I have no issues against D-Day Cobra. I think he does a really good job. I think there's a reason people love to watch him. I will admit that the super pro MAGA stuff turned me off a little bit before, when I wasn't really paying attention, because it felt like he wouldn't be willing to call balls and strikes. But seeing him absolutely do that over the last 2 months has been like, I absolutely, impression, all that stuff is going up. I think the most important thing to do is if you're going to criticize one administration, you need to, at the very least, criticize your administration for the bad stuff it does. And him and other people sitting there and saying, you know what, this is a bad idea. You're doing this wrong. I think is a really good thing. Hang on 1 second, guys. Oh yeah, look at this. This was I saw this. This was really fun. I saw this because of Greg, but the Democrats tweeted this: that Trump's America prices are higher today than they were in July 2024, all in major categories. So cheese, alcohol, grocery, dairy, produce, meat. By the way, anyone that went shopping in the last, let's call it this week compared to 3 weeks ago, has anyone noticed chicken has gone down a little bit? I went to get like a tray of like 12 chicken breasts like 3 weeks ago. It was like $18. I went to do it yesterday and it was $12. That's a pretty big drop. But this is hilarious because you see all the prices are pretty much low. And then throughout throughout Joe Biden's or Barack Obama's third presidency, everything goes up. I don't think I would have tweeted this. Elaine, 100%, 100%. Part of the wait and see. You know what? If anyone thinks we're going to get everything that we voted for, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. We're not getting every single illegal out. That's not happening. But can we get enough out to actually affect our economy and fix things? Absolutely. Yeah, Cranberry says notice that it went down. Yeah, so Lily, what does that mean? That's just been sitting there forever that they need to lower the prices, or no, they dumb. But here is a big case for. Okay, I don't remember what the rule for weapons on YouTube is. So I'm going to assume that it's okay if I show the bottom of this, that YouTube doesn't know what it is. But anyone that knows what this is, big news happened today. In the Ninth Circuit, which again, we all were looking at the map of earlier, the Ninth Circuit is California, basically. Yeah, risk it. So we are far enough in that I should basically be able to do whatever I want. And I am assuming that showing the bottom of that thing should be fine. So this one, where do I have it? Let's see. United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit. Kim Road, whole bunch of people, whole bunch of firearm stuff, versus Rob Bonta in his official capacity as the Attorney General of the state of California. Before a 1, 2, 3 circuit panel, judge panel, with an opinion, and so 2-1, an opinion and a dissent. Oh, you gotta love when they start their opinion with the Second Amendment. Let's see. I don't care about your attorneys. Holy shit. How many states? Hang on. So we've got amicus briefs from everyone count off. Ohio, Idaho, Alabama, Alaska, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, Indiana, Iowa, Kansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Missouri, Nebraska, New Hampshire, North Dakota, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, Texas, Utah, West Virginia, Wyoming. Oh, I could have just looked at the fucking bottom of the thing. So that is what? 10 states signed amicus briefs for this. So this appeal raises the question whether California's first of its kind ammunition background check regime, which requires firearm owners to complete background checks before each ammunition purchase, violates the Second Amendment. We hold that California's ammunition background check regime is unconstitutional, and we affirm the district court's grant of a permanent injunction. Boom! So California tried to make buying weapons and guns even more difficult by saying in order to go and buy a box of 22 or a box of 9mm, you had to pass a background check. The district court said, fuck that. And the Court of Appeals said, fuck that. Holy shit. Also, do you know how fucking dumb you have to be for a district court in California to say you're wrong? Holy shit. In 2016, California voters approved Prop 63, which created a background check regime for ammunition sales. Regime went into effect July 1, 2019. California requires residents to purchase ammunition through licensed ammunition vendors and face-to-face transactions. See, I can go online and purchase ammo. South Carolina. I want to see their reasoning. Their reasoning is going to be fucking hilarious. Oh, hey. Anyone, the Twitter account Eckhart's Ladder, he's a fucking idiot, right? Like, he's retarded, right? Canadian, so most likely retarded. By subjecting Californians to background checks for all ammunition purchases, California's ammunition background check regime infringes on the fundamental right to keep and bear arms. Because California's ammunition background check regime violates the Second Amendment, the district court did not abuse its discretion in granting a permanent injunction. Yeah, you know what? That's fair. So this guy, let me see what we got to wrap up here in just a second. We're gonna go play Sea of Thieves with the crew. Plaintiffs assert that California shall issue ammunition background check scheme facially violates the Second Amendment. California, which has administered the scheme since 2019, has shown that the vast majority of its checks cost $1 and impose less than 1 minute of delay. Nevertheless, the majority concludes that the scheme violates the Second Amendment because it lacks a historical analog. In reaching this conclusion by applying Bruin's historical analysis at all, the majority is broken with our precedent and flouted the Supreme Court's guidance. Oh. I won't, Mark. Judgment notwithstanding the verdict for tomorrow afternoon, so I'm kind of in and out. Oh. Dude, I want to read some of your shit one day. The majority's Second Amendment analysis is twice flawed. First, as I explained in part one, I'm not going to read. This guy smells his own farts. Let's scroll down to the bottom and Because Californians may not lawfully possess and carry ammunition unless that ammunition first passes through a licensed vendor who can perform a face-to-face background check. Does not apply here. Plaintiffs contend that California has taken advantage of Section 926A Safe Harbor to regulate the interstate transport of ammunition generally, which is unequivocally protected by that. But this is largely a retread of plaintiff's Commerce Clause argument. Okay. Well, what you need to know is that if you ever end up before what's his name? Circuit Judge Bybee, make sure it's not for a gun-related crime. So Eckhart's Ladder tweeted the other day, yesterday actually. Let's see. Here we go. So Unusual Whales tweeted, breaking Tulsi Gabbard announced that she has officially referred Barack Obama to the DOJ for criminal prosecution. And he said, someone should tell Trump about the presidential immunity case he won last year. Someone should tell this guy to go read the case, because the case makes it clear that the president has broad immunity, not absolute immunity, from basically being prosecuted for anything while he's sitting as president, and has broad immunity from being prosecuted for any official act. Conspiring with your intelligence agencies to prevent someone from becoming president is not an official act as president. Come on now. So, what a fucking idiot. So, what do y'all think about this? I saw this when I was looking for the tweet. So, Macron, the president of France, has sued Candace Owens. I don't have an opinion about Candace Owens, but I think that this is dumb on so many reasons. One being, like, what if you actually are lying to us? Like, what if you sit there and say, oh, she's definitely a woman. But what if she isn't? And, we get to some sort of discovery. The other thing I would say is, why have you acknowledged this? Like, you're the president of a fucking country and you are acknowledging this? I would never. Like, I mean, I could be walking down the road and someone could be yelling at me, that's a woman, that's a woman, that's a woman. I would never look at that person and go, no, I'm not. Why would you acknowledge that? That seems so dumb to me. Is it just me? What do y'all think about that? I'm sure everyone's heard about this by now. That's hilarious. That is a hilarious response. I don't know. I don't think we're allowed to answer that. Yeah, I haven't really watched anything of hers. Like, even when she was with the Daily Wire, I just wasn't a huge fan. I thought she was just a little too let me scream. It's kind of like, I'm not a huge fan of Joe Rogan's comedy, because a lot of it is let me scream into the microphone and that makes me sound funny. I don't like people, and which is funny considering I think Ryan is one of the better YouTubers, and half my videos end up with me screaming into the microphone. But I'm just not a huge fan of like rage bait in a way. Yeah. Have either of them gone live yet? I guess I could open the Discord and see if they're in there yet. They are not. Did someone in France threaten to release medical information on Mrs. Macron and he suddenly flew out a window? I have no idea. I don't know anything about that. Please don't throw me out a window. Raid Wicked. Oh, keys, but I want to raid myself. I'm selfish. I should raid Wicked. You know what? Let me raid Wicked. Okay, I have to swap over to King's Advisors on YouTube. I mean, to the TheKing'sCourt on YouTube. Whoever subbed, thank you so much. Okay, I think I remember how to do this. We go to YouTube Studio, and then we go to the live stream. And then customize. Oh, I don't think I can raid on this channel because I'm not monetized. I think you can only raid if you're monetized. Agreements. Let me check to see if I have to turn something on. Yeah, I don't think I can raid. I think I have to. Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. I do want to say, guys, sorry that it's been so long. This week, these past like 3 weeks have been just crazy. I've been in and out of just a buttload of work, and then between doing videos and then being a little too busy to do other things, it's been a hassle. But we're gonna get back to a more consistent time. Probably, I think we're gonna kind of stick to every other week so that I can do a state of on King's Advisors as well. Speaking of which, I am getting ready to go play Sea of Thieves. A lot of y'all are gonna go hop over to Wicked. I'm also gonna drop Brisket. Thank you for dropping the link. I'm gonna drop my link as well. If you feel so inclined, I'd love to see y'all over there. But it's, dude, that's the thing though. My work isn't that hard. It's just a lot of it. I cannot wait to take this robe off. Okay. I don't care who you go to. I don't care who you raid, but raid somebody. Okay. I will see y'all over there. We'll chat. We'll do all that stuff. And I will be around this weekend playing video games. Hope y'all have a great time. Thank y'all for being here. And do good. Go out into the world and help somebody tomorrow. Make this country a great country by helping the people that need help. Peace out.